Hey guys, it's Kaylee from Gluten-Free Runner, and today I made a carrot cake. Now this carrot cake is not gluten-free, but my neighbor really wanted me to make it, and my family loves it every time I make it, so I wanted to share it with you guys, and hopefully you'll like it too. Here are the ingredients that I used. Feel free to pause and take a screenshot so you can follow along too if you'd like. You're going to need 2 9-inch round cake pans, and I started by spraying them with Pam and then lining the bottom with parchment paper so that the cakes don't stick. I have a special trick to line them with parchment paper where basically I just get a big sheet of parchment paper, fold it in half like so, and then I kind of just cut around it with the scissors and use the top and the bottom of the pan as a guide. And then because I folded it in half, I get 2 circles so I don't have to cut it twice, and I just put it in. Now, you're going to need a bag of baby carrots, and yes, I am aware that you can buy pre-shredded carrots, but suck it up, shred the carrots yourself because it makes the cake so much more moist, and it truly brings out the carrot flavor. Even though it's kind of a pain to shred that many baby carrots, it's well worth it in the end. The pre-shredded carrots are just kind of dry. They don't make the cake as moist, and they don't really bring out that carroty flavor as much. And shredding the carrots yourself really makes the cake worth it. Once you got all the carrots shredded, you're going to get a big bowl, and we're going to put all our wet ingredients in there, starting with both our sugars, the white sugar and brown sugar, and then adding the eggs, vanilla, oil, and the rest of the wet ingredients. Here's a little note about the applesauce. So make sure to use unflavored applesauce or maybe cinnamon applesauce if you want a little bit of an extra cinnamon taste. But don't use like the strawberry applesauce or any of that. It'll just be weird. The applesauce really adds a nice moist touch, and it makes the cake that much more dense. Now we're going to do the dry ingredients after you beat the wet ingredients together. Again, I used my handheld mixer, but you can use your hand or a stand mixer or whatever else that you want. So again, this cake is not gluten-free, but if you'd like me to make a gluten-free version, let me know in the comments below, and I can definitely do that. So I'm just using some regular all-purpose flour, and if you watch my channel normally, you'll see that these are not my regular bowls, and these are not my regular measuring cups. That's because this cake is not gluten-free, and I try to keep everything separate to avoid cross-contamination. So basically, in the dry ingredients, you're just going to put your flour, baking powder, baking soda, a little pinch of salt, and then some cinnamon and apple pie spice. Apple pie spice is just cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. It really gets those warm notes, and just mix it all together. I used a fork, it doesn't have to be fancy, and there you go. Now, we're going to start by adding 1/3 of the dry ingredients into the wet. Mix that all together. Add the second third, mix that all together, and then add the rest of the dry ingredients and mix it all together. Be careful not to overmix it. Just mix it until it's just combined. Then you can go ahead and put away your handheld mixer or stand mixer or whatever you used, and we're going to fold in the carrots. If you've never folded something into a batter before, you simply I like to use a wooden spoon. You put it all in the middle, and then you go up and over and kind of just fold it down like so. Get it really mixed, folded together well, but make sure that you don't mix it again to avoid over mixing. This is why we fold. We just go up and over. Make sure to break up any big chunks of carrots like that. You want them to be evenly spread throughout the cake. Now you're going to carefully pour your batter into both pans. Pour half of the batter into one pan and then half of the batter into the second pan. It doesn't need to be perfectly equal, so you don't need to be too stressed out or like perfect about it. Just eyeball it, get about half in one pan, about half in the second pan, and then go ahead and use that wooden spatula and spread out any lumps on the top or around the parchment paper. That way the cakes are nice and smooth. Now we're going to pop the cakes in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. Watch them so they don't burn.
A few moments later.
Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes, and I checked my cakes with a toothpick, and it came out clean, so that's great. They're looking perfect, not burnt or anything, so I'm going to let them cool in the pan for about 20 to 30 more minutes, and then, see, look at that. They're just going to cool in the pan for a little bit. And then I carefully took them out of the pans, like so, and peeled the parchment paper off and let them cool again upside down. I let them cool upside down because it makes the top, I don't know, it makes it not cave in, and it makes it more smooth, so that way it's easier to stack, easier to carve. Just trust me on this one, guys. Okay, I'm sorry, look how smooth that parchment paper came off. See, that's why we line our pans with parchment paper, that way the cake doesn't stick. So now that they're fully cooled, it's been about an hour since they've been out of the oven. Now that they're fully cooled, I turn them upside down, and I'm going to start by doing the crumb coat. So the crumb coat is basically just a layer of frosting. I'm using this frosting, I'm not making homemade frosting for this one. Just to keep it nice and easy and simple. But the crumb coat is basically just a layer of frosting that locks in the crumbs so that your final layer of frosting is nice and clean and beautiful. So first, I am going to carve the cakes. You'll notice that they're a little bit domed on the top, and that doesn't make it good for stacking. So I just use a serrated knife, and I carved off the top. I let my brother eat the little carvings. He enjoyed it. And just carved it down like that until it was nice and flat, so that the other cake could stack on top without having any dents or gaps in between. Now it's time to stack the cakes. So I just used an offset spatula. And again, don't worry if any crumbs get into this layer. No one's going to see the middle. I just put a nice thick layer of frosting in the middle, so that way I can stack the cakes. The thicker the frosting in the middle, the better it tastes, is what I've heard from my family. So I did a very generous amount of frosting in the middle, and then I just stacked that top cake on top of the frosting right there, like so. Very carefully so that the cake doesn't break. And then it was time to do the crumb coat. So I literally just smoothed some frosting around the entire thing. I didn't worry about making it look pretty or anything. See, look at that. No one's gonna see it. And then I popped it in the fridge for 2 hours. Here it is after being in the fridge. The frosting is all set, so this final coat of frosting is gonna look really good. I went ahead and grabbed another jar of frosting, and look, I'm not trying to be a professional cake decorator over here or anything, so I just did my best on frosting the cake. If you have any tips or tricks for decorating cakes, especially with frosting, please let me know in the comments below, because I'm always trying to learn how to be a better baker. But I think my cake turned out pretty darn good. Okay, and there's my finished carrot cake. I think it looks really nice. So let me know in the comments below if you have any tips or tricks for decorating. Let me know if you want me to make this cake gluten-free. because I think I can definitely do that. My neighbor absolutely loved this cake, and I'm so glad she did. She told me that I should be on MasterChef Junior because it was so good. So that made me really happy.